From alien creatures to human opponents wearing military uniforms, up to biomechanically enhanced alien and human creatures, with opponents such as the gunships or the combines, the Half-Life franchise has always exhibited a wide variety of enemies. Most of these enemies are well balanced within the games, with good amount of HP and damage values assigned to them by the lovely developers. Half-Life, unlike games such as Doom and Serious Sam, almost never puts the player in front of challenges that might be initially perceived as unfair. I say initially because once you get skilled enough in Serious Sam and Doom, even the hardest battles become a pleasure to play through. However, there is one enemy in the Half-Life franchise, kind of an obscure enemy that some people might not even remember or have encountered, which represents a huge threat to the player who is mindlessly enjoying his gaming session. What's this enemy I'm talking about? Is it the common headcrabs? These pesky little things could surely earn the top spot as the most annoying enemy in any Half-Life game, but they obviously aren't tough to kill at all, since 2 hits from a Glock or 3 on hard difficulty is enough to take care of them. Or perhaps is it the gunships from Half-Life 2? But you can just patiently hide behind a wall to avoid their fire and then peek out to destroy them with a bunch of well-aimed rockets. The same applies to Half-Life 1 tanky military vehicles. They all deal a lot of damage while being tough to kill, but what should we expect from armored equipment? Could it be the alien grunts from Half-Life 1? These buffed up aliens sure look tough to kill, with their wide shoulders covered by chunky pauldrons, but in reality they only have 120 HP when playing on hard mode, making them manageable to slay with whichever gun you wanna use. Much like an Italian proverb says, these things are all smoke and no roasted beef, meaning that they look menacing at first, but once they start shooting from their weak high vents, an headcrab becomes more scary than them. Maybe it's the poison zombie from Half-Life 2. These guys, with their fat silhouette suggesting how bulky and resistant to fire they can be, present 175 HP. Thus, they surely eat up a lot of bullets before going down, but their slow movement speed, paired with lack of deadly attacks, given that they can only melee slash at the player or throw poisoned headcrabs at your face, do not make them a menacing foe to fight. I cannot help but think of this monster as a gnome with an heavy addiction to opiates. So, who is the real winner? With a muscle mass similar to the alien grunts, the shock trooper from Half-Life Opposing Force earned first place. When fought on hard difficulty, their HP amount goes up to 200 from the 125 of normal and easy, making them able to void the 10 ammunition inside their shock roaches before you can make them kneel. Dispatching 3 of this Race X creature is not the same as eliminating 3 HEC soldiers. Moreover, the projectile of the rifle, the shock roach, is quite fast as well, making it hard to avoid if you're not strafing to begin with, and they also have a good rate of fire. Obviously, shooting their gun is not the only tool in their arsenal. It is said to be that the shock troopers are the most intelligent alien species in Half-Life. Don't ask me why. And they sure as hell can use their intellect to become clairvoyant to shoot mortars at your feet in the form of exploding spores. This ability of theirs is barely noticeable in indoor levels when you first meet them, since the ceiling blocks most of their throws, and you usually encounter just one shock trooper or a couple of them. but in Foxtrot uniform, a chapter in opposing force, around the outside area near the containers, which is arguably the hardest section of opposing force if you don't cheese through it with the displacer, a weapon equivalent to the BFG in power, you're gonna meet a freaking extended family of these shock troopers, and they will tactically bombard you with spores from all sides, and with an aim that is as deadly as the spores themselves, which in turn deal 90 damage on hard, quite a lot if you have 0 armor. Also, the majority of this Foxtrot uniform section is composed of narrow pathways and containers, thus avoiding both of their shock projectile and spore gets quite challenging. However, it does not end here. In fact, even after having killed them, they are gonna leave a little threat you'll need to deal with. The shock roach they shoot from is actually a small parasite insect which will look for a new host if the original one dies. This electric insect behave pretty much like an headcrab, although I believe they're a bit more aggressive, plus they jump faster, and they also share a similar amount of HP. After successfully tearing down a single shock trooper, having to deal with these small decks, it's a true annoyance. Adrian Shepherd himself is happily infected by one of these parasites, and just as the trooper, he can use the shock roach as a weapon, and of course so can the player. The shock roach along with the spore launcher are two reasons why I like opposing force so much. These alien weapons are just as effective as they are cool, and they fit the Half-Life universe perfectly. If you didn't know, the spore launcher is actually a baby shock trooper that has been turned by the cruel science team into a portable rocket launcher. To conclude, I bet that if you have played the opposing force on hard difficulty, you must agree with Foxtrot uniform or OF5A3 being one of the hardest set piece not just in this expansion, but in the Half-Life series as a whole, and it's definitely the abundance of shock troopers and their strength and might what make this section so challenging. So I salute you boys, and subscribe if you liked.